Okay, we should be live right now. Alive and kicking. Hopefully we have audio. Looks like yeah. Looks like I have audio. Yep. Okay. I see here my guest can say he hears me, so I think we're good to go. Caleb, what's going on tonight, fan? What's going on, my brother? Candace Morrison is in the house. Says, hey, Mass, hey, everyone. How is everyone doing? Just fine. Dufresne, how are you? Highway Frog. Good to see you guys tonight, man. Thank you guys for coming by and joining the live stream. I have a great guest tonight who I'm very thankful for giving some of his time to go over what's going on in the Arizona sector at the border. We're on a little bit of a border kick this week, but we're being invaded, and I think it's important since mainstream is barely covering this. I mean, you'll see a little bit of coverage from Fox, but other than that, no one's really talking about what's really happening. And the gentleman I have coming on tonight, Jeff, has some amazing stories and information just from being down there. So he spent 7 weeks in the Lukeville, Arizona sector. So he's seen a lot of comings and goings. And I think he's highly informative. And, we got to speak a little bit earlier yesterday. And, I just think this is important for our audience to see. And I know a lot of you guys who are here tonight think it's important too. So hopefully you guys learned some stuff tonight. And, if you have questions, put them up in the chat and I'll pull them up for Jeff. He said he'd be cool with taking any questions from you guys. But we're going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about the military aspect of this. Something I did a video on a few weeks ago about the citizen journalists and what Dick Durbin said down the Senate floor about bringing in these illegal immigrants and offering them citizenship in order to, if they join the military. And we're going to talk about who these people are because Jeff met some of them down there, what their background is, where they're from, all that kind of stuff. He's going to give you a little bit of history, a short, brief history about himself, and a couple stories that he's heard down there as well. Some of the cartel involvement, and we're just gonna we don't have anything specifically to hone in on tonight for subject matter. So feel free to bring up a question, like I said, and we're just gonna have an open conversation, a Q&A. I'm gonna ask him a few questions, and then again, feel free to jump in at any time. Candace says, everybody, as you come in, please hit the like button to get all this info out. Yeah, if you guys remember to hit the like button when you come in, that would be fantastic. And yeah, I think let's get the conversation started because I'm already a couple minutes late. So without further ado, this is my guest tonight, and a good guy that's down there, in the trenches doing this investigative journalist work. He considers himself a conflict area reporter, a conflict zone reporter, and that's what he's going to go by. So welcome my guest tonight, Jeff from Cali, and make sure you give him a follow. If you can, go over to his Twitter, his YouTube page. He's trying to hit 1,000 subscribers, so let's help him do that because this guy's doing a great job. All right, without further ado, here he is, Jeff.
Hey, all right, thank you, Mass.
Good evening, sir. How you doing? How you doing tonight, Jeff?
Thank you so much.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for coming on and, willing to give up your time. I know you're really busy. Everybody is right now, but, I just think this is a really important issue that, like I was saying earlier, just doesn't get enough coverage. And a lot of people have no clue, I think, what's going on right now. So, I'm very thankful for you coming on. Why don't you introduce yourself? Tell everyone what, your background a little bit, give some history, all that good stuff.
Excellent. Thank you. So my name's Jeff Rainforth. I'm a California native. I got my start in border coverage about in 2019, before the COVID broke out. And a little background prior to that, I was born into just a middle class family in out here in California, and ended up getting in trouble with drugs in high school. Became a hardcore addict. I almost bled to death when I was 16 from methamphetamine that was mixed with some crazy chemical that just ate through my nose membranes, and just I was bleeding, but I almost like literally could not stand up anymore. Almost bled to death when I was 16 years old. Became a hardcore addict up until I was 19 years old. A gang actually got involved out here. They were being supplied by the Mexican drug cartels for making methamphetamine and other drugs. There was a huge operation. I got caught up in, like, did not want to be in it, but that is what happened. I fought with this gang for a long time, scared for my life. Living on the streets, it ended up in homelessness, etc., for several years. And I finally escaped the gang. I literally was scared straight. Just I thought I was going to be shot and killed every day, just because I was trying to get out of this gang that was cartel linked. And so escaped the gang and the drug addiction when I was 19. Took a long time to rebuild my life. Several years later, after I went back to school, like junior college, etc., did really well. National honors, 4.0 GPA, etc. Almost went into physics.
Oh, wow.
I loved math after, not in high school. I was like horrible at math, but afterwards I was just amazed by it, and I did amazing at it also. In my 20s, when I went back to the junior college, I almost did physics. Then I decided, I like political science, stuff like that, etc. Should have gone physics. But very short, I got into politics a little bit. Ran for governor or Congress as just to try stuff out. And I joined a third party back then. It was like the Reform Party was around. Then I got paid. Actually, I got elected to be a chairman of the California State Party. Then we were trying to get Erin Brockovich as our candidate for governor. She declined, so I said, I'll run if you guys pay for everything. So I paid to run for governor of California. And we didn't do that well because there's a lot of politics involved in just getting on the ballot, etc. And then
sure, especially third party, right?
Exactly, third party people on there,
yeah.
Chop, it's just a huge thing because they'll say, "Oh my God, you got our opponents elected because you were in. He took a percentage of the vote." So, but at any rate, it ended up there. From the difficult years, and then beyond that, I did some corporate time, and then got into political news publishing, etc. I started covering a triple amputee airman Brian Colfage probably about 2012, I want to say. And I was volunteering with a guy named Pat Dollard, who was a Hollywood top conservative agent, or a top Hollywood agent who was running George Clooney's and Steven Soderbergh's, one of their production companies, got an Academy Award winning film made. And he left politics, left Hollywood and did politics. So I was working with him, got a huge start in there, met a lot of people, and learned a lot in that area, in publishing and even, I would say, filmmaking stuff. And then started covering this guy, triple amputee airman Brian Colfage. We went into political news publishing and did really well, right when Trump had announced his candidacy, because the airman Colfage was a huge Trump supporter. So most of the stuff we put out was Trump. So we did massive, huge amounts of publishing and reached about 30 million people a month in, I think it was 2016, during the election year.
Wow. Okay.
Website, we exploded. It was just, he was making 3 million a year. And so it was a huge thing. After all the fake news stuff hit, everybody got hit in publishing. We got shut down because we were being mentioned in top news organizations as being partially to blame for Trump because we had such a huge reach. And whatever
they
the case,
blamed you for Trump getting elected. The democratic process playing out.
And they shut down a lot of like independent publishers like us. Like we're not like mainstream, obviously. And so, and this guy after that, Airman Colfage, triple amputee, decides to do something about the border crisis. And he says, you know what, I'm going to raise a bunch of money to build border wall. And if some of you may remember the We Build the Wall organization, he was the one who founded that. So he raised like $25 million in a month, and we started on our first project. I was the photographer, videographer, news editor, whatever for We Build the Wall through its entirety. I was like the first person he called. He's like, start writing articles for us. We need stuff to get out there, and I did, and everything went viral. Every single article went viral, and it was literally on my own site, just jeffrainforth.com, and. And then we went out and we started building wall in Sunland Park, New Mexico. That was 2019, May. And I was there. There was only 2 of us from the organization who went out because it was super secret, because people on the left wanted to shut us down. Democrat politicians wanted to shut us down, find out where we were, shut us down, protest. MSM wanted to shut us down because they're all allied together. And so it was super, super, super secret. Nobody knew. Only even a few people in the organization of We Build the Wall knew about this, what was going to happen. And so, and I'd been on all the scouting trips across the border, like where we were choosing where we're going to build, etc. And so we started building, and sure enough, we did it in like 2 weeks flat up a mountain. We chewed up like half of this huge mountain. Fisher Industries was the company that did this, and they got a huge contract later for building border walls. But it was amazing, and we donated to another project of Fisher's in Mission, Texas, I believe. It was the first border wall built literally on the Rio Grande River ever. And then the feds went after us. The Democrats and the feds went after the organization, and they got them on some like bogus, like it was all political.
I remember that
money stuff. You didn't spend everything on the wall, etc. And you said it was going to be, and you took after you said you wouldn't. It was totally political. So some people are literally in like prison. Airman Colfage is in a prison hospital right now. I'm corresponding with him and some other people, and a member of wait, I'm not sure how much I can say. I need to stop right there because
stop right there. That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good enough. I do remember that story coming out. That there was some bogus claims about We Build the Wall. Yep. Remember all that.
So
seemed like a political witch hunt.
It absolutely was, and because it'd still be going today. We built wall for way cheaper, way faster than the government did, and they did it in places they said they couldn't. That's how it all really started with the border stuff for me, and then I went kind of freelance after that. They did send me around the world because Steve Bannon was one of the top guys in We Build the Wall. And so he first sent me like into Hong Kong or just stuff of his own stuff, like because he's big into the CCP, anti-CCP stuff. So he sent me to film Hong Kong, but then on a border wall trip around, I think it was 7 countries total, to film border walls in other countries, to get ideas and make a film about it. And then also it was counterterrorism, because a lot of it was terror related. They were trying to keep out like ISIS fighters, etc., in certain areas. I was in Israel, where the Gaza Hamas stuff is going on right now. Filming there when rockets were flying in. Great Wall of China, Thailand, Malaysia, where there's terror attacks over there. So I was in the jungle where their border wall is. Hungary, on the border of Serbia, where they built like 100-mile. It's supposed to be fully high voltage, electrified. France on the border, or there's not a border, it's the channel. They built a border wall because there's like massive amounts of asylum seekers from Africa coming up, and then they were afraid there was terrorists in there. Then I went down to Spain and a little in South Africa or North Africa in their territory, where they built border fences, huge ones, triple fences to keep out people coming up from like further in Africa, from like Yemen and Somalia. And they were saying there's like terrorists in there, like either ISIS or Al Qaeda, etc. So that was kind of like the little border wall world tour thing right as COVID was just about to begin. It was like I got back in the States late November.
Okay.
And so then I did like a bunch of freelance stuff. People contracted me to film on the border. I did the.
Did I see you went to the Darien Gap? You were in Panama at one point?
That is no, Michael Yan is the guy who I know. I met him in Hong Kong.
Okay.
When, filming embedded with the protesters there, anti-CCP protesters. So he's the guy that's typically over there, and then it's like Ben Bergquam from
Ben Bergquam. That's it. Yeah. Okay.
With Ben Bergquam on a job, like a Real America's Voice, like contracted me to go out and do some stuff like infrared stuff, tracking cartel drug shipments, whatever. And I've worked with other people. I've been contracted to go out there also. And then let's see. So I'm trying to think. The March for Trump bus tour. I was the videographer for that. That went across the country twice and to our border down. Literally, we went to the We Build the Wall, and that's the bus tour that ended in Washington D.C. on January 6th. They were there's that whole thing. So, but we spent time down there on the border with them, and then I started doing my own, like, just without any contracts, going down. Started last year. I did a 3-state border tour. Started in California and just made my way over from Arizona, New Mexico, and Texas, and hit all the hot spots. Yuma was the big hot spot last year. Massive. I mean, the photos that I have out of that, just like, I remember when I showed Steve Bannon, he was just like, holy and crap, man. Are you kidding me? Because it's epic. Just the photo itself is just epic because there's so many people and the lighting. It was at night, and the gold, I mean, this 30-foot tall fences, and then the lights with all the bugs coming around. It was like apocalyptic. He likes that word, but
that's how it looked. Yeah, it looked apocalyptic.
I personally had never seen anything like it, and it was, from a videographer standpoint, it was like, wow, this is like amazing gold. Like, you want this kind of footage. But it also
go ahead.
I'm cool. I got
you. I was gonna say, how would you compare Yuma last year to Lukeville in 2023? So you were down there. I was saying that at the intro, you were down there for about 7 weeks, right? How would you compare your time in Yuma, which was the hotspot then, to Lukeville, Arizona, in the last couple weeks? Would you say it's gotten substantially worse, better? What?
Absolutely worse. It's like comparing the Cookie Monster to Godzilla. So like in Yuma, it was like about 800 people when they're coming across. It wasn't every night, but it was many nights of the week. About 800 people would come across in one spot, and it was an Indian reservation, and so it was just, the visual itself was huge. But in Lukeville, it was every night and every day, nonstop, constant stream of people coming through in that one spot. And the numbers are just off the charts compared to last year's. And last year also, Eagle Pass was, in terms of numbers, there was more numbers in Eagle Pass last year when I was there, when I visited after Yuma. It was just, it was all out. And then, of course, this year, I went to Yuma to check it out first, and nothing was happening when I went. I left in October, early, probably like the first week of October, to the border. And one sec. Checked Yuma out. Nothing was going on. I knew all the hot spots, like how to get out to the border road, because it's like, then I I had another place like that I'd researched and found out, oh, it's supposed to be going on in this other area out in Arizona. And so I actually, a Border Patrol agent came up to me in Yuma and kind of just hinted, oh, there's stuff maybe going on in the Tucson sector, but I can't officially say anything. And that was the sector that I'd researched. So that's when I headed over to Lukeville. And sure enough, first night I got there, bam, right in the port of entry, like just hundreds of illegal aliens, like in the port of entry itself, where they normally have cars going through. They're bringing them in through the back way of the port. It's the direction to go into Mexico. It was that lane, or those lanes of the port of entry, and they were bringing in illegal aliens from the backside of the port of entry come into America. And so they had them all sitting there on the ground, like literally in where the cars were.
Oh, wow.
That was literally, I was like, okay, this is it. This is where, because when you go out to film, you don't want to see a trickle there. It's not worth anybody's time. You go where the stuff's happening, because that's what people need to see, because nobody's filming in Lukeville, or nobody was when the port closed. More news guys.
Let me ask you about that. Why is there such a mass flow now? Why is Lukeville this hotspot? What is the reason? Does that have something to do with the cartels? What is behind that influx of people now going to that Lukeville sector?
Well, that has to do with, like, people come up and there's different groups that control different sectors. It's like, and it's not even like the cartels per se. It's these groups, human smuggling groups, and some of them are at war with each other on the other side of the border as we speak. Okay. And that's what I think, different people coming across in different points, even at different parts of Lukeville. Or not Lukeville, but across the border, like a little town called Sonoita. So they'll be on different parts of that town in Mexico, and different groups are controlling different areas of that.
Certain areas. Okay.
And there. Yeah.
Is that an easier port to get into? Like, when I looked at the map of Lukeville, and I'm going to pull it up in a minute, it just seemed like it's not near anything special. Like, I'm just trying to figure out, what is the catch about entering through Lukeville? Why would they choose, or why would the Coyotes choose that spot as opposed to Yuma or San Ysidro or Brownsville? Why there?
That is just because, well, where they're coming up from, typically from, oops, 1 second. I am also pulling up my map. Let's see, they come in, the African illegal aliens that I talked to, most of them, or all of them, said they bought plane tickets and they'd fly into cities in I think it was Nicaragua, and then they'd either catch buses or rides or trek up towards Mexico and into Mexico. And then there's several groups that also control the routes that coming up to America. And then there is, let's see, I have to look up that. Actually, I was given a specific reason, and I've got a bunch of notes here. I'm trying to find, there's a very specific reason why Lukeville. It was, border, those human smuggling groups in Mexico, they kind of don't want to flood one area more than another at one time. So if they're going like to Nogales too much, they'll send them over to Lukeville, and then the other one was Yuma. So a Border Patrol agent told me that. That's what I remember. And he said, yeah, they don't want to flood an area too much and get too much heat there. And so they'll reroute them to different areas, and kind of, or if they have a lot, I guess they'll also send them in multiple directions. But Lukeville was just, it was its time. They said a while ago, it was Yuma. Like when I was there last year, that was the hot spot. But then they just chose this time for Lukeville to be it. And I thought when I first got there, I thought it was because the Gulf of California was right there. I thought the cartels were like bringing in ships of people and just coming out. It's like 40 miles from Puerto Penasco, which is Rocky Point, the tourist area that's being hammered, being everything's going bankrupt because of the port closure there, because Americans aren't going there anymore. But I thought they were bringing them in from there. That was wrong. Most of them are flying in, the ones that are coming in from overseas, like from Africa and India, the Middle East. But anyway, yeah, there's a reason the human smuggling group, they don't want to overwhelm certain areas, but which they did actually in Lukeville, which why it got shut down.
Well, that's why it got shut down. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think there's stuff that I had from Border Patrol. I'll have to go through my notes because I got tons of notes, like literally. But
so you just mentioned and said that they're coming from certain parts of Africa and the Middle East. So let me play this video clip that you took, and this was about 2 weeks ago. Let's play this, and then when it's done, comment on it and kind of explain to folks who you're encountering now, because you like we talked about, you had said that the demographics have changed a little bit more recently as opposed to say 2021, 2022. 2023 seems to be a new type of economic migrant, illegal immigrant, call what you will, that's coming in. So let me play this little clip, and then you can kind of talk about what you're seeing as far as where these people are from, what their background is, the whole nine. So let me go in and get this so I can share it up on the screen for everyone. And this was, let's see. Oh, I just went back. Hold on. Did I just lose you? Yeah, hold on. I have to go forward here. I don't know how I just checked out of your X account. All right, here we go. All right, and the date was that we said second week in December, right?
yeah, the African guys. Is that the one you're talking about? Yeah.
Yep.
Should be the 12th, I believe. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, December 12th.
All right. And just so everyone knows, just tell everyone what your Twitter account is, the handle.
Oh, okay.
While we got it on here.
It's Liberty _ Clarion, CLARION. So Liberty _ Clarion, like the clarion, the trumpet, whatever. And it says just Jeff on it. Just Jeff from Cali.
All right, let's see here. Should be getting close. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Can't believe I just did that to myself. Yeah, here we go. And by the way, Jeff, were you the one who took the images of the Asian guys coming in a few weeks back? Was that your footage that you took?
If it was a lot of Asians, I don't think so. I only think I saw like one or two where I was.
Okay. All right, let me put this video clip.
Okay.
So, what's up? America is come back. You welcome to America.
Do you have address?
Yes.
Do you know people friends?
Yes. My
Parents are there?
My father.
Your father's there?
Yes.
Okay. So what are you gonna do?
Huh?
When you get there? What do?
Yeah. What?
What when you get to New York, you do for work? What do?
Work. U.S. military.
Are you gonna go to the military?
Marines.
Military Marines.
So you're gonna go to the Marines?
Yeah, military. My work favorite.
Can you make it's very difficult? Is okay? Are you strong?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Marines are very tough.
Okay, so Jeff, where were these guys from? What country were they from?
They're from Guinea, and they always said, like, I'd never understood them until I got home. Like, they'd say Guinea Conakry, and Conakry. They're from Guinea, but there's like the capital city is called Conakry.
Okay.
And so they don't, for some reason, they differentiate. Apparently, it's like a better place to be from. So,
okay. Okay.
Guinea.
It's like maybe saying you're from the Bronx instead of Queens, or okay, something like that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hollywood.
Now what? Yeah. Right. Now where did they get the idea that after they illegally crossed the border and are already that they're going to walk into the U.S. military? Is this something you think is coming into their heads and being put into their heads before they come here? What's your take on this? And just go ahead and take it away.
I think somebody had to have. Nobody told me. I couldn't get that much information. They didn't. There's a little bit of a language barrier there, but I was kind of shocked. I was like, I know there are programs where people who are not citizens can join the armed forces, because I've worked with veterans groups who have come from who've served, and I think they had like green cards or something. They were able to join the military, serve overseas, whatever, and then they were promised citizenship. And there's actual groups in Mexico of people who didn't get the citizenship they were promised, and then so they had to go back. They were forced back across the border.
Oh, wow.
And groups over there that like literally plead on the behalf of the members who were like, the government didn't follow up on their promise. So I know there are things I don't know that about illegal aliens specifically coming over literally without any papers whatsoever. There was a huge conversation. A lot of people commented under that video of mine about whether they could or not. And there's paperwork involved and stuff. You got to jump through some hoops. I don't know where they either researched it or somebody told them, maybe an NGO or something like that, said you can come in and get citizenship by joining the military. And who knows who would do that? I mean, these guys were like big Joe Biden fans, if you watch the whole video. And so maybe
they were chanting. They were chanting for Joe Biden, right? They were the ones that were running originally, right?
Yeah, I was like, "Welcome to Joe Biden." Something I don't even know what he was saying. Something America.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. Apparently, big Joe Biden fans. So I'm thinking maybe because everybody knows, typically the Democrats want people who come in illegally to be legalized, and they're looking at them as future voters, right? So I'm thinking because
typically,
a Democrat aligned NGO somewhere over there that's putting out the word you can become a citizen if you serve in the military, and as a to fast track some of these people through for votes in the end. I don't know, and that's there's a huge conversation going on about why they'd even think that. So
we discussed this the other night when Hernando came on live, and I was saying, the Latin American, the last 2 years everyone coming from South and Central America, as being new voters, I guess I can understand that up to a certain extent. After a while, Latin generation settled down in this country. They realize that they align, I think, 90% of the time more with the conservative or Republican side of the ticket. But this time around, it seems to me, and go ahead and elaborate on this, but these guys aren't coming in. They're coming in with a Biden, with a Biden voting, let's say, already in their blood. But when Dick Durbin is talking about making these guys legal citizens for their military service, you just have to wonder, like, what the voting is one thing, but to bring these people in who have no connection to the Constitution, no connection to anyone in this country, they don't have to go home and face their neighbors, their family members, their friends. It seems like to me this would be the most vulnerable group to target, kind of like what they did back in the 1860s when we had a huge influx of migrants to New York City, where the Union Army, as soon as you came off the boat, they were putting you in a, in gaiters and handing you a rifle and saying, go save the country. Do you think there's a possibility that there is some of that behind this, as opposed to all the other crazy reasons that we can imagine of why this is allowed to continue?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past anyone. Like over the course of all the time, people being in power, we've always become corrupt. So I would not put it past anyone in power right now to like do something, want to fill our military with foreigners, illegal aliens, to use them for whatever. If some people, I've seen some people say, oh, they're going to be on the streets, or they're going to be under the control of the United Nations. And if we revolt,
that's the big one. That's the big one.
Yeah, on us.
I've heard UN. I've heard UN a lot. I've heard UN when it comes to Canada, that a lot of the reasons why they brought in all these illegals into Canada was because eventually the UN will use them as peacekeeping soldiers. And we've already seen that, what happened with the truckers, January 6th, call it what you want, but they've seen the people not wanting to abide by certain rules. And as we saw, it's very difficult when you have an American soldier who took an oath to the Constitution, who has, again, a history in this country, maybe for generations. After you shoot an American, say in a martial law or some type of situation like that, you can't go back home again. But these guys have nothing to lose, everything to gain. And, if that's the path we're heading down, because, what we were saying, and I was talking to Hernando about this, saying that, civil war doesn't really scare me, because I don't think you would see a fight between the people and the actual military, or the people against each other. But if you have 8 to 10 million illegal immigrants coming into your country, they might have no problem, just a tenth of that. That's all it would take, 10% to pick up arms. And then you organize them, drill them for a couple weeks, throw them out into the streets, and you have mass chaos, right? And they're not afraid to shoot. It's
100%.
Scary.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, it's scary.
Scary.
So tell people about the background of some of these guys. Now, they're coming from some of these countries, and I know you touched on this a little bit about the their religious beliefs. Now, a lot of these guys you said are Islamists. So go ahead and just explain that a little bit, what the percentages are that you've been hearing.
Yeah, these the guys coming from Africa. These are they're from Senegal and Guinea. Those are the two main countries that they're coming from. Senegal has a 97% of the population are Islamist, and in Guinea it is 90% of the population is Islamist. And one of the main religious structures in Guinea Conakry, which is the city that I was telling you that they were all telling me they're from, Guinea Conakry. So I looked it up, and the main religious structure in Conakry is actually this huge mosque that was built, I think, in the early 1900s. But it's a huge, massive mosque there. That's just basically the center of life there. So when I was out there in Lukeville for the first time ever, I saw people praying to Mecca. Starting in early October when I first got there, I saw they literally put down a little anything down on the ground just to kneel on, and then they start bowing and stuff like that and praying. And Border Patrol actually alerted me the first time. They're like, they're supposed to pray to Mecca, but Mecca's I forget which direction from us, and the north or something. But they're they're praying in the wrong direction. You might want to get that on video. And so that's when I started becoming more aware of how many people were actually out there, Islamists, praying. And I got the last one I got was a big group of them. They were actually taking turns because there wasn't enough space for them. It was 5 or 6 at a time in a line. They had put something on the ground. I don't even know what it was or where they got it from. It looked like a giant rug, black rug. But literally, there were just like 5 or 6 at a time, like praying to Mecca, and then other people would come up. And that's actually in one of my videos. I was planning on a story, an article with video of all the times I've seen people from, from over in Senegal or Guinea come over, and then they're praying at night or at the evening times, I think, is when they're supposed to pray. So, it's all basically people of the Islamic religion who are coming over from Africa. And the thing is, Africans, when I got there, made up about 50%. They were the vast majority of everyone who was coming over. About, it's like up 800 to 1,000 every single day. And then at the very end, it got up to 1,500 and more a day and night. So that's the vast majority that's coming over. The Hispanics coming from South and Central America, even Border Patrol told me, I noticed it's noticeable, like right when you get there. He said they make up less than 25% now of people coming up in there. Yeah, he said units that come up from that are Hispanic now less than 25%. You could tell they had numbers.
Yeah. So the Catholic or at least Christian, I almost said Middle Eastern, South and Central American folks have already crossed by this time. Most of them, a good majority of them. This is a completely different demographic than we've seen in the past. And did you see a lot of fighting age men of Middle Eastern? Like, let's forget about West Africa. What about like Syria, Libya? Let's talk more of that region. Have you seen that? Has that changed at all last year, this year? Like, what are you seeing?
Yes, a lot more definitely from last year. I don't think I saw maybe a couple from the Middle East coming over last year on my first personal tour. This time, like Border Patrol agents out there will tell you if you like get in good with them. I have like excellent. Some people are like yell at the Border Patrol for hey, do your jobs or whatever. I'm like I'm chill. They say you can't photograph here. I'll be okay, cool. I'll go over here, and then you develop a rapport with them, and they give you lots of info because they want this to. So at the same time,
do they?
They
do they want this to stop?
I got there, they were just begging me to get it out what was happening because nobody was covering this. Nobody was in Lukeville for the first 5.5 weeks that I was there. No news agencies, no reporters, nobody. And they were literally begging me, get this stuff out there, please. We've been dealing with this for 6 months, day and night. And they're just like at their wits end. I don't want to get anybody in trouble out there. I have videos of them like going off on going off big time. Like, they were so demoralized because, they could they could literally push people back, but they're going to lose their jobs. And then they have families and they're out in the middle of nowhere. That's the middle of nowhere where you got to live close by. I understand that people want them to push them back, but at the same time, there's that other side. Well, they got kids and, wife and family and they got to feed them. And so I don't know,
Well, and then remember we had Border Patrol that was on horseback that they tried to open a case against for doing their jobs and suspended the whole equestrian unit for a goddamn CBP. Right. So, why risk that? Why would you risk your job?
Also, that's why they're afraid to talk to journalists too, because if they get a leftist journalist out there, that's what will happen. So when they find out that you're like, I usually come up and go, yeah, Steve Bannon had me on his show like a bunch of times. I worked with them all the time. They're like, oh, okay, cool. So you're cool. You break down.
You don't know, right?
Yeah. That you develop a relationship. So they're afraid of the people, the leftists who will like try and trap them or set them up. They didn't do. Yeah, that's what hurts us, and like as independent journalists out there in communications is the journalists who attack them or set them up for stuff. So
are there leftist independent journalists down there also like working for these NGOs maybe, or some of these other organizations that are trying to document them not properly performing their duties and just opening the fucking door for everyone?
Right. I think not at Lukeville. No, but yes, because when they all started coming after the port closed, that's when like the big news organizations started showing up, because the port closing was a huge news thing. But last year on my tour, I did see people from local and some national news, and those are typically going to be left leaning. So those are the ones, you know, if it's Fox, you're going to be safe, probably safe, a safe bet, you know, Fox News reporters. But if for everybody else, like CNN, MSNBC, NBC, ABC, CBS, whatever it is, you're going to run into some trouble. Then you might have even freelancer leftists who go out there. So yeah, they're out there, and they will take more of the humanitarian approach. Obviously, that's just what they do. And then they'll try and paint the Border Patrol agents, who literally are just there to keep the border secure and make sure nobody dies that's their job. They literally told me, we're basically soldiers. We're not like nice people. We weren't trained to be nice people. Literally, that's what they told me. And so when these reporters come over and like, oh, and then Border Patrol's so mean. Well, that's what they're trained to do.
Yeah.
Like whoever's the cartels and the whatever criminal organizations are on the other side, having wars in Mexico with like war weaponry, like
weapons of war. Yeah, 50 cals. Right.
Exactly.
Right.
They're literally the soldiers that are out there to protect from that kind of stuff, and the drugs, hardcore drugs coming in. So there's people who will try and set them up. The leftist journalists who will say, "Oh, they're so mean." Well, that's their job. The freak total 100% what they're supposed to do. I kind of where were we at right before?
You were talking about the Middle Eastern countries that you're seeing some of the guys come from. Yep.
Yeah. The Border Patrol let me know. They're like, oh, we got some Syrians in the port itself. And this was like early October, like about a week after I got there. And so I was able to like get up, and there was some like some of the canopy stuff was torn off of the little tent thingy, the giant tent thingy at the port of entry. So I was able to climb on a fence and get my camera up, film inside the port tent canopy thing, and see all the Syrians that were in there, and then get some really great telephoto shots of them coming in. And then from that point on, you know, I'd hear Border Patrol, oh, we got people from Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, etc., coming in here, Pakistan. So I hear chatter, because they'd see their papers or whatever, and if somebody brought their passport, etc., they'd see that. But one of the things I saw quite a few, I want to say from Syria, and one of the things I noticed is they try and change their appearance to make them look more Hispanic. And this is a thing I just talked to, I forget who it was. It might have been on a Twitter Spaces show that, yeah, there was an actual former DHS officer or something who said, yeah, that's what we found they're always trying to do, is they'll cut off all their facial hair. They'll cut their hair nice and trim and try and look as Hispanic as possible, and go in and blend in and learn a little bit of Spanish and try and cross through so we don't know who they are. And then they'll ditch all their paperwork so we won't know who they are. And they'll try and trick everybody into thinking they're Hispanic when they're actually from the Middle East. And that's what was tough about because usually I'm filming through a telephoto lens or at a high zoom level to get up close shots of these people and trying to figure out who they are. And so you'll hear me like a little commentary while I'm filming. It's like, oh, this he's like Middle Eastern, probably Syrian, because some of them have a distinct look from certain areas. So definitely I did see a lot. And sometimes it was difficult to spot them just because they do try to like blend in and camouflage themselves, like their looks. But
what? Go ahead.
You'll ask any Border Patrol agent out there, especially Lukeville area, they're absolutely coming in.
Okay, and there's almost no way to tell them apart, right? There's no way you can tell these guys apart.
Because I've got time when I'm sitting there with a camera, I'm like examining and you looking at facial features, and I'm not a facial like recognition expert, you know, but you can tell there's just little things about them, and you can tell they tried really hard to look like everybody else in the group. And Hispanics, there's not a lot of them coming through in Lukeville anymore, so they're not blending in as much, which is nice because it's easier to spot the people from the Middle East, etc.
Yeah, the last picture that I had, or that video that I saw of the Chinese migrants,
Yeah.
you could tell after they went through all the Chinese migrants who were all standing at a relaxed military pose, parade rest, which means they must have some type of training back in the CCP with either the police or the military. At the end of that clip, the last 10 or 12 guys all look like they were Middle Eastern. None of them look like they were from, there are some you can tell are very distinct features, and it's very obvious, right? Some of them even had tattoos, right, with Islamic prayers and all kinds of stuff. But I was seeing that, again, like you said, some of these guys from Western Africa are clearly Islamic, and that's nothing against the religion on the whole, but the people who are coming over here that we're talking about have nefarious purposes. They are here to cause chaos, possibly could be in some of these Hezbollah or Hamas recruitment, these cells that are trying to get into the United States right now, possibly to make some kind of repeat of the Summer of Love 2020 just in 2024, before the next election. And I think with the added controversy going on right now within the country of the war over in Israel right now in Gaza, that just puts tremendous pressure on these guys to try to strike back, because right now Hamas can't do much. But if they could attack within the United States, it would send a very clear message to our government that maybe they need to slow down with the funding, maybe they need to slow down with the weapons. And again, perfect time, just in time for election. All those things kind of coinciding right now, just seem like a very bad omen. So you are seeing definitely a change in the demographics.
Yep.
As you said, you're seeing way more West Africans, who most of them are Islamic, and you're seeing a lot more people from the Middle East. And all of the Hispanics, most of the Hispanics who are either Christian or mostly Catholic, have already come in early 2021 and 2022. This year has been completely different than any other, right?
Yep,
Yeah, so we're
absolutely.
probably in for a shit show.
Yep.
What do you think is the biggest issue right now? Do you think if Trump was able to have finished the wall before he left office, would that have made a huge difference? Because you've been down there, you've shown some footage of them cutting holes in the fences. The Biden administration's taken razor wire out where it's supposed to be. They've had the judges pull the floats from the water that stop people from getting in. What do you think is the biggest reason, besides bad policy and an open invitation? What could have stopped this leading up to 2021? What would have made a difference, do you think?
Bodies on the ground.
Okay.
Literally,
Is that a problem?
Yeah, huge problem. Massive. That's your number one problem. Bodies on the ground. Border Patrol agents out there, they're like, we need the military. Literally, we need enough people to have one either Border Patrol agent or soldier within eyesight of another. So that's whatever, 100 yards, 200 yards, whatever it is, so they can watch the wall. In Lukeville specifically, I'm talking. So they're cutting the wall every day, 3 or 4, sometimes 5 and 6 times a day, cutting it open. And I have videos of that also. And that's how they're getting through, because there's plenty of wall there. I mean, it goes on forever. It seems like forever, because I go out to the mountain, the top of the mountain or the hills, and you can see it just as far as you can see. So that's not the problem. It's detecting them when they're starting to cut, so they can interdict, and stop them. So yeah, it's people. on the ground. And we've actually talked about, I put it out there, if people wanted to come out and join me, like literally, I'm thinking it'd be like people who are retired, etc., have time to go out there because most people have to work. I said Lukeville's like crazy place, middle of nowhere. If you have a camper or just want to camp out for a couple of weeks, come be part of a civilian kind of thing. You could do it. And a lot of people actually spoke up and said they would do it, which was, very cool to see. I bounced that off Border Patrol too. They were like, you could do it. It would take a lot of people though to make that work. But that's one of the things that is a possibility, I suppose, if you have enough people who are able to get out there.
What do you think would happen if Americans started showing up at the border armed and trying to either assist Border Patrol or do the job themselves? What do you think that situation might look like? How would in your opinion, how do you think Patrol would react to, say, well, how about first let's start with how do you think they would respond to the National Guard being sent in? Because any one of these governors can at any moment call up the National Guard and send them there. Why none of them have done it, especially Abbott down in Texas, I have no idea. But what do you think would be the response you would see from Border Patrol?
Border Patrol, well, for the National Guard standpoint, they'll accept any help they can get because they're just completely overwhelmed dealing with these people day and night, especially where I was. So that's like, they'll absolutely take the help from National Guard. As for civilians coming down, you definitely want to talk to them before you go out and do your own, like be, Lone Ranger. But they told me, at some point there were militias out there, but the militias they're like, you're not doing your job. They're kind of butting heads with the Border Patrol because the militias were out there, do your effing jobs, whatever. So there was like a clash kind of there. I think if people went out, like I get along with everybody, like just, I can't shoot here. I can't film here. Okay, I'll move over here. I keep everything cool so I can keep the data, the information coming so I know where to film to show the American public what's happening. But yeah, if people went out there and were like, said, we want to help and do stuff, you can literally go out there and be spotters and keep an eye, like a set of binoculars, pair of binoculars, go out and just look up and down. If there's certain spots that they're cutting all the time, we know where those spots are. They're like right across from little like bus stops or like little truck stops, little teeny towns. We know where they're cutting the most. So, and the Border Patrol, if you went out there and just abide by the law first and then get to know people, totally fine. I think it'd be totally fine. You couldn't run around shooting people, definitely.
Right.
That would be like immediately a lot would happen at that point. But you could go down there. When I first started this tour, because I'd done last year's, and I was like, what can we do? And I was part of We Build the Wall. It's like, what can we do fight economically to maybe stop the flow? And I was like, I researched all this kind of stuff that we could do. And it all came down to one thing. It was concertina wire, the triple strand concertina wire that you see our military using, and they're using it in Texas, etc. That's like the easiest thing like civilians could put down in various areas. And I thought about it a lot. You could literally lay down a couple 100 yards of that in 10 minutes. They got special dispenser things that you hook up on a trailer, etc. That's one way. I even thought about it. The Border Patrol agent said they'll probably shoot you, like the human smuggling groups. If you go to that level, like in Lukeville area, they're probably literally going to.
That would be a problem, right? You get into it with the cartels.
Yeah, and that's that is a problem. But I was thinking at the same time, you got to shoot through a fence. So either they're walking up. So there's a big advantage of being on the side of that bollard fence because they're not going to be able to shoot. You can run down it real fast, and they're not going to be able to like aim at you. They could just put the gun through the other side and just fire, and maybe accidentally get a lucky shot. But at the same time, it'd be really easy how they cut those bollard planks like this, and they're just dangling like this, just one.
Yeah.
Those, You could literally just run up, throw some concertina wire around it, like in a kind of a U shape, so they couldn't like put cutters through. But and there you go. The people be tripping over themselves, get caught up in it, and there's nothing they can do. And then you could film it, and then maybe other people would go do it too. Also, I don't know, but that was a thought that I had, and it's a maybe. Who knows? We'll see.
So my chat's saying Americans will go to jail. Dufresne saying Americans will go to jail if they go down there to help. Do you think? Yeah, I know Border Patrol wouldn't have a problem with it. Who would be the ones that would step in to run interference on you? Would it be the NGOs? Would you get some pushback from certain Border Patrol members who maybe are a little left leaning? Who would you run into a problem with down there? State police?
In the Lukeville area, it would be national parks. The park rangers would be the first people because they're more real sticklers about rules, etc. And then the Border Patrol supervisors. Those are the ones typically who are the ones who will follow the rules. You know, this is it. This is the rule. This is the law. The line, the Border Patrol agents who are just out doing their job every day, like, they're the ones that are like, yeah, go do whatever you want. So you typically won't have a problem from them. It's the supervisors that typically are going to say, you know, you can't be here, don't do this, etc., because they making better pay and they want to keep their jobs, etc. NGOs, no, the only NGOs I saw out there was the guys putting up water in these tanks, etc. Like every mile or so, there's these big tanks of water for the illegal aliens, and then they put like giant flags like way up high, like 30-40 feet up in the air, so they can see
see where to go, right? I saw that. Yeah.
So
they're actually guiding these people to the points so they can hydrate for their journey, right?
Yep, exactly. And so I actually talked to one of the guys who runs, I don't even know if it's like how it all works. It's like called Humans for Human. I don't even know. Humane Border, Open Borders. I forget what it's called. It's literally on the side of their trucks when they go out to refill all these water stations, and I have them on film. And one of the guys, he's an older guy, he was out there, and he actually came out and talked to me, and his wife is with him. And for some reason, he wanted to make very clear. He's like, I just want to make it clear I'm not working with like any human smuggling organizations, any cartel. I don't like people dying. Like, and I was like, he just made that. I didn't ask him anything. Literally, he just wanted to, because he saw me filming. It was just because he knows there's people out there talking about NGOs help people get across the border on both sides of the border and overseas. And I was like, okay, why are you telling me this? You know, I mean, I don't think it's really going to change anyone's perception of what you're doing. So, but it was really interesting. But they don't usually bring food out there, only water, and they would not be a problem. There's just not enough of them. Those NGO people that I saw out there, yeah, there's like once a day they'll go out and fill up the water, and maybe on the Mexican side, perhaps, but not on the American side. So it depends about how you do it, how you go out there. It's done, and you know, and who knows if when I go back out there, people may come out, and I'll introduce them to Border Patrol, and I'll let everybody know what's up, and then people can do what they want, be spotters, and that's amazing. That's Eagle Pass, I believe. That's insane. I was there last year and got some drone shots. Wow. Yeah, it's massive.
Yeah. This was from 2 days ago. 2 days ago.
That is
someone's asking. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, go ahead.
I was saying, someone was asking, have you seen? Well, Mike says, "Where's all the missing children?" Have you seen any evidence of, children smuggling? I watched a video just the other day of someone bringing over a child that obviously was drugged, and they couldn't wake the kid up. And there's reports that have come in through the House and the Senate that they've been calling in some of these people that work for DHS, talking about we have 85 to up to 100,000, maybe more, children that are unaccounted for that have come over across the border with no legal parent or anything like that. Have you witnessed any of that? Have you seen unconscious children? Have you seen what looks or maybe appears to be human smuggling, all that kind of stuff?
The most I've seen over there is because typically the children will come with Hispanics, and because there's so few Hispanics coming over now, they will be with, what looks like family units, but you don't know, because you can have those groups, human smuggling groups, will literally give a child to you, to strangers, to go across the border with, and for whatever reason, I didn't see. There was a few times where I thought there might have been like a young female with a child who would have been endangered, when it seemed like they were coming up to me for help, and they were like afraid of saying anything, and it was some very surreal moments out there. As for like that, probably Lukeville is probably not the area where that would happen as much, I don't think, just because the demographics have completely changed. There's a lot less family units coming through, Hispanics, and they're the ones that bring kids through. So not really that I could see, but I mean, my eyes were open to it. And just a few times, because I know there's a lot of like sexual like exploitation of women and like rape and whatever going on. And there were a few times that I thought something might be happening, when I literally had to steer them to Border Patrol agents who are nearby, because there's nothing I can do to help.
Right. And is a lot of that happening on the other side of the border before they come here, or both sides? It's happening on both sides?
I think it's more on the other side. The big we were just talking about the rape trees and stuff like that. I think there's some on our side of the border, but more often I think it's on the way up, because some of these people are coming from like beyond the Darien Gap, and the Darien Gap's where a lot of stuff happens. So I think it's definitely on the way up, because I think they know there'd be harsher penalties up here. But there's a lot of children who have gone missing, and actually at a rest stop in Arizona on my way back home, I saw, there's posters all over of look for kids. They're being held against their will for human trafficking and sexual, like whatever stuff. And there's these posters put out by, I think it's Arizona, the Arizona State Police or something. And there's literal posters inside bathrooms. Like, if you see someone who appears to be in danger, a young child, female, call 911 immediately. So it's evidently a big thing over there, because law enforcement's aware of it there, and they have like communications all over about it.
Okay. What about so we talked about West Africa, we talked about some of the countries in the Middle East. What about China in particular, or Asian? Again, this is going back to what I talked about a couple weeks back with the guys who were in line standing at the parade rest, clearly some type of military backgrounds. What have you seen as far as that goes recently?
Lukeville, what I was told when I was in Lukeville is when the port closed, a bunch of news organizations showed up. Fox News showed up. Their camera guy, crews from Los Angeles, came out first, and they told me, you should go to San Diego, because that's where all the people from China are coming across. It's almost all Chinese people, males, coming across there on the board at the wall there. So that might be my next spot to go before I go out to either Yuma or Lukeville again. But yeah, that's one area, and I think there might be, I forget who it was, somebody talking about up north. that might be a problem also. But San Diego's one spot. I only saw like a couple Asians down in Lukeville. One, I think he said he was from Nepal, so that I thought he might have been Chinese, but somebody pointed out that he was he has his Instagram or something chronicling his journey to America, and I happened to get him on film. That was one of the only Asian guys I think that I saw. Very few were in Lukeville.
Okay.
And it's just, it's just because they're, you know, they're coming over from the on the Pacific coast, either flying into wherever and then coming in. Like, yeah, San Diego's the obvious spot to get over.
Okay, so San Diego seems to be a big hub spot for a lot of the Chinese or maybe Korean, but that part of the world is coming in through San Ysidro, and I can't remember the other border crossing there now, the big one, but it seems to be more of a California thing than Arizona or New Mexico. Now, when you were down there, didn't you say that that Katie Hobbs had just visited the border, and like within a couple hours of her leaving, that had they already there was migrants sneaking in, like literally right behind her after she left at that Lukeville entrance. They were coming right back into the border, right? Border Patrol. What's the deal with that spot now? Lukeville is supposedly now closed, but you've multiple times shown videos of in the middle of the night these guys coming over when it's supposed to be a lockdown corridor, right?
Yeah, that's so. What happened was a few days before Katie Hobbs, Democrat Governor Katie Hobbs, announced that she was going to Lukeville, we started noticing the numbers start to go down, and I've never seen it like happen over there in Lukeville. It just kept getting worse and worse and worse in the 7 weeks that I was there. So, just a few days before she announced, or after she announced, it started slowing down. And the day before she got there to speak, nobody was at the wall. Nobody was at the tent facility. Nobody was at the port of entry. There were zero illegal aliens anywhere. It never happened in all the time I'd been there. And sure enough, she came in. She came in, made her little speech. There was like one or two reporters other than me. I filmed her. I tried to ask her some questions. I yelled some questions over. I was like 50 yards away or whatever. And they huddled around her and they like rushed her off, and they wouldn't like let her answer questions. She didn't want to answer. She doesn't answer questions, obviously, if you've seen her stuff. And they rushed into and they rushed her into the port of entry CBP offices. And they all had huddled, like state police and her staffers, all when I started asking her questions, literally started like just huddling around her and surrounding her, and then moved her into the CBP offices. And then a few minutes after that, there was a caravan of CBP vans and vehicles that went around outside the back of the port of entry out onto the main highway. And I thought she was going to go out and check out the border wall. She did something else. And then about 10 minutes after that, she was on a helicopter, which I filmed taking off, like literally out in the dirt. So yeah, 10 minutes after she left, I went back to the port. 10 minutes, hundreds of people, illegal aliens, came through the port of entry. There was a few, like one or two CBP and like a border patrol agent there with them. And by that night, I counted about 1,000 came through from it was like about noon at 12:30 when she left. So until about 10 o'clock that night, I counted about 1,000 people who came through right after she left, which was, and Border Patrol told me that happens when like big wigs come out, like politicians, etc. It's like the stream dries.
There must be some way they're finding out. There must be some way that the coyotes and the cartels and all the smugglers know that there's important, some bigwigs coming, and word gets passed down that, hey, we need to clean this up while she's here. We can go back to business as usual as soon as she leaves. So if someone's giving these people a heads up, there's got to be communicating going on both sides of the border in order to know that. Or I guess they could be watching local news and find that out. But you would think it was a little more than that. Did you see this the other day? This was for the last 365 days, the number of takeoffs for aircraft. Have you seen this this flight thing. How insane is this? So this is the last 365 days. The migrants flights, over 4,000 into the US, all over the place.
Oh, that's crazy.
Absolutely crazy.
That
Absolutely
is
crazy.
because every entry spot is like flooded, and they're just, oh my gosh, yeah, that's insane. And what's funny is where they're going. Like everybody I talked to out there was going to New York. Almost everyone. A few people were like, say, Chicago or San Francisco. But most people wanted to go to New York, or said they had family, their friends there, or they had a phone number and a building, apartment, or a hotel to go to. So, I found that what we were talking about earlier, Sandy, why Lukeville is so busy right now. Border Patrol told me that the human smuggling groups use Lukeville as an overflow for when San Diego and Yuma have too many people. That's like one of the main reasons. It's
Okay.
huge. It's a logistics management thing for the human smuggling groups. Want to differentiate between them and the cartels, but but he also said, like I said before, there's a lot of fighting going on between groups, which is why numbers will fluctuate in between certain points, etc.
Okay. Now you where have you heard, because you've interviewed a ton of people down there, where have you heard most of these people saying they're going? Are most of them headed to big democratic cities such as Los Angeles, Detroit, Chicago, New York? Have you kind of heard all over the country, or are there certain areas that seem to they're routing these folks to as like hubs in order to get them in and then spread them from there? What do you seem to be finding?
90% of the people who I talked to said New York. They're going to New York or New York City. And then just very few, like Chicago came up, San Francisco came up, a few other big cities, but they were all sanctuary, big Democrat sanctuary cities that they were going to. And yeah, that was the main place up, New York. Absolutely 100%.
Main place is New York.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did when you talk to some of these guys, Jeff, did you find out, how are these? I mean, listen, I don't know how much flights are from, but they can't be cheap going from Africa to Mexico, and then all the accommodations and everything. Where are they getting? Where does it seem like they're getting this funding from? Have they just been saving up for a while, and all these guys are coming over, or do you see signs of people who are coming here with absolutely nothing, or that all they have is their flight ticket and that's about it? Because I've seen, I think today was the first day that I saw the actual paperwork from some of these NGOs that they're allowed to fly on any flight for free. The paperwork just says, I'm going to see if I can find it, that I don't speak English, and I need a flight to a certain place. Where do you think there's some funding coming from the outside, as far as them getting from their original place to the border?
Yeah, I
Do you
think
see
there are.
them being helped along the
I think so because
Okay.
I mean, first
and
the flights. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, the flights, they're going to range from anywhere from like $800 to $2,000 from Senegal. Let's say Senegal over to Nicaragua to I forget what the Managua or something, the city that you'd fly into. So first, that's to start with, thousands of dollars there. Then you're going to have to pay the smuggling groups like $8,000 to $10,000 just to to escort you from point to point through. Once you get into, say, Nicaragua and start trekking up, and then because they're feeding you, etc., they're literally making sure you get into America, and so it's a lot of money. And then beyond that, they'll have cash on them because they'll need stuff just personal stuff along the way. And I saw them like in Lukeville the last week or so when I was there. They were like, people on the Mexican side of the border were literally coming up and selling them stuff. And you could see the people, I got them on film, the guys from Africa, literally handing them, like laying down and handing them like a cat, some kind of, I don't know if it was like pesos or whatever, like over. And then the people on the Mexican side would hand like water bottles through a little packaged food or like tamales or whatever. So they have a lot of money invested in this. But the thing is, some of these people are really well dressed who come over, and they have really nice, like Gucci bags and like Prada and super nice jackets. And so it kind of makes you wonder, did some of them may have had money over there? Maybe they're from more well-off families, etc., or something like that. But they're definitely, they're not all well off. So they're getting help somehow, because it's like 12 grand probably to total or more to get from Senegal to here. So I put it past an NGO, like having some kind of like scholarship program, I don't know, or whatever grant, just here's your money to come over. There's some people I think that are more who follow the NGOs more, like I think Michael Yon is one of them. He does some amazing stuff on reporting on that. But I wouldn't put it past anybody to possibly even be profiting off of this, and somehow.
Yeah. Man, it's just crazy.
Yeah.
I wish I had an answer to fix all this, but it almost, to me, at this point, and we've seen little drips and drabs of the info coming in over the last couple of years, but with the Haiti thing that happened when we had the 10,000, but dude, we're talking about 250,000 to 300,000 people a month now that are coming in. We're not talking about 10,000 Haitians. We're talking about 200,000 Senegalese and people from Gabon and Guinea-Bissau and all these crazy places that we are at war with right now, or at least some of these people believe they're at war with the United States, or the Christian aspect of it, or whatever their beef is. It's not with the American people. So if there's any jihadis out there watching right now, we have nothing to do with what's going on in Israel right now or Gaza. So if you want to go protest, go to DC and go to the Capitol like the rest of us did. Stay out of the fucking streets of New York and Christmas celebrations. Stay off the fucking highways in Chicago. People trying to get to O'Hare or airport. Stay off the 5 in Los Angeles. You're not going to win over with that shit. Go to DC where your real problems are. Those are the people who invited you here. Those are and these are the people that are funding what's going on, with the military around the world. Has nothing to do with the people who are trying to go visit family. You're not going to win anybody over with that. So go where the problem lies, and that is in DC. Leave everybody else alone. Sorry, I just had to go off on that tangent for a second. All week I kept seeing, and it's funny because a lot of times it's not even jihadis. It's overweight, pink-haired, liberal women out in the street who can barely breathe. They got a mask on, and they're holding hands with some guy who weighs 80 pounds soaking wet, blocking up a major highway in Chicago on rush hour on the busiest travel day of the year. The people, at least on January 6th, went to where their problems lie, and that was at the Capitol, right? They're the reason they brought that shit on themselves. So for all of you guys out there protesting, your problem's not with the American people. We have nothing to do with the policy or what they do with our tax dollars. We are at the mercy of the 1%. So Jeff, what would you say is your and we're running on about an hour and a half now, so I don't want to keep this too long in the interviews. I'm trying to keep, as I was saying before we came on, I'm trying to keep everything between like an hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes for these new, interview live streams that we do. And if anybody has a question that they want to ask Jeff, put it up soon, and I will definitely get it to him before the stream is over. I asked this to Hernando the other day, and I'll pose it to you too. What do you think is headed our way in the next 10 months? Like, what's your overall outlook on the country leading up to the election in 2024? What are your thoughts? You optimistic, pessimistic? What do you think?
I think there might be a repeat. I mean, they're trying to keep Trump off of the ballot, so that's the new battle. Like Colorado, the Supreme Court ruled there, and then I think the actual Supreme Court will rule probably for that Trump will be on all the ballot, in all 50 states. It'll come down to that. I think if it comes down, if it's Trump, Biden, or whoever the Democrats, if they switch him out for somebody else, I think there's going to be probably a repeat of 2016, 2017. Further than that, the BLM, it might have something to do with Israel, like all mixed in with Antifa, BLM, the Palestinian, people, protesters, like all mixed in, just rioting.
Yeah, they're going to duke it out for the oppressed Olympics.
Yeah,
who wins gold? Yeah.
Seeing it already, especially with it looks like instead of BLM, it's the people for Palestine or whatever, or for Gaza, etc. It's all the same people behind it. I bet a bottom of my last dollar it is people organizing it. And because I was Steve Bannon sent me into the Portland riots undercover to film up there. When that was going on, I filmed them in Sacramento, where I live, and riding.
Back in 2020.
Yeah, 2020, and so I was up in Portland, up undercover in the riots up there, and I fully believe it's going to happen like all over again, especially just because of Trump. It triggers people, and especially because he's doing so much better in the polls, because it's for some reason, like every time they hit him with something, it's like it has the opposite effect in the polls. He keeps going up. I think it's like a powder keg. Literally, there's so many things going on. The world melted down when Biden came in. It's like there's so many wars. There's so many things going on. There's just so much unrest, and people are fed up with the high prices and everything. And I'll probably be on the ground. I mean, I film, but I might actually go for more of a, activist role at this point, because I've seen a lot and I know a lot of people, and I'm not saying I will, just I might be out there, whatever, in some fashion. If I think I should be out there. So
one of my someone in the chat just asked, what can we do to stop it? What would be your recommendation to anyone? Is a phone call to your congressman in your, congressional district, to your state senator, is that going to do anything at this point? Or do these guys have their minds made up that this is going to continue until a new administration comes in? Or if this administration stays, it'll continue for the next, 4 or 5 years. What would you say would be something someone can do if they wanted to try to get active without actually going to the border and doing anything physically? What would be the best thing you would say would be a suggestion, to help stem the tide of this? Where should they direct their anger, let's say?
Typically, as much as I hate to say it, it's the squeaky wheel gets the grease. We know that. That's why Antifa, BLM, that all, you saw how much society changed because of what they did. Violence. I'm not advocating.
Yeah.
I'm not advocating whatsoever. People go do that. Be loud first. If there's a place, if like you're a city councilman, if you have a member of Congress close to you where you live, get with other like-minded people. You got to be loud. You got to get out there with pots and pans, banging, be as noisy as you can, make a commotion. If that's what you want to do on the ground level, I mean, you can write your member of Congress if it's a Republican, and if so many people hit them up. they'll start talking about it. Maybe they'll talk about it more in the news, etc. Get more of a focus on it, which always helps. If it's your Democrat, if you have a Democrat as a rep, they're obviously probably not going to do anything. I mean,
they're compromised.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And so, I mean, being loud with other people is very effective. We saw it with Antifa BLM. That's the most recent thing that I have to look back on. And so I think we should be more vocal and out in the streets more, and very, very like, be a little assertive and aggressive vocally, more than we have been. And beyond that, if you're not going to the border, that's what I would do. Oh gosh, yes. I mean, that's what I think works.
I think a lot of people are afraid of political persecution right now because of the way we've seen a two-tier justice system since January 6th. I mean, you got people who burned down Wendy's and McDonald's in Minnesota and Oregon, Portland, getting off with 6 months probation when 65-year-old grandmothers who walked on the Capitol lawn are still sitting in jail from the summer of 2021. I think people are a little hesitant to do that, and the same thing with the truckers, right? The truckers were persecuted heavily. Tamara Litch, the lady who led that up in Canada, she's currently going through court right now. They're trying to put her in jail. I think people are spooked because of January 6th, which unfortunately, and I've said this for like 2.5 years yet now, is like, in my opinion, is one of the biggest cases of police entrapment in the history of mankind.
Right.
But I think some people, I know even myself, going down, I went down to DC in January to protest against the SEC because of market manipulation. And, certain people were on edge just because you never know when something's going to pop off because, they have these people who have infiltrated the crowds. That happened on January 6th. It happened a little bit up at the truckers rally. I was just reading the other day, someone was talking about one of the truckers rallies that happened in the United States. You remember there was supposed to be a big truck rally going to DC, and that kind of it faded into oblivion because along the way they had got infiltrated by people. The media smeared them, and that ended up going nowhere. I think there's definitely some people who are spooked about that. But yeah, I think that what you're saying is the right thing as far as, if you and we saw this recently with the UAP stuff, especially on X and Twitter, as you well know, that a lot of people were putting pressure on some of the Congress people down in Florida to do a little more digging, put some pressure on these, Lockheed and these other groups to open up so we can see what's going on with UAP technology. What kind of devices are they using? Where are they getting the energy from? Could this be a huge problem solver instead of bringing in Chinese windmills and solar panels built in, Shengdang? I think that has worked a little bit. And I've seen, especially on Twitter, since Elon bought Twitter, I've seen the response from politicians and pressure on them with the January 6 tapes, the release of those, Johnson in the House. A lot of these people have, they've been pressed on issues. And look, it got McCarthy ousted as House Speaker because, he got a little bit of pressure. He caved to some unusual rules so he could get elected, and they took his ass out and pulled his card because he didn't follow through with his promises. And they should, every one of them should be held to the same standard that we held Kevin McCarthy to for not releasing January 6 tapes. I've been talking a while about a woman back in New Hampshire. Her name's Lily Tang Williams. She's running for Congress in New Hampshire. She fled Mao's China and the communism there. I would say that's another way, right? You can get local in your elections, start changing from the bottom up, right? I mean, you can always start local. The more local small politicians that you have that, can align with certain policies that you want to introduce to the House or the Senate or whatever it is, You can always start on that local level. And it's good to see people on these platforms now organizing to do some of that work. The information lines as of right now are open. Communication lines are open. People are able to talk back and forth. That's how me and you met, right? How I met Hernando. Like, this is a great thing that we're able to do, because at least we're getting the information out to people and they can know what to expect, what's coming, because I don't think anyone's seen those flight logs before from the last year. I mean, we're talking about 4,000 flights with what, 200 passengers on each, 10 to 12 million people in the last 3 years. That's bigger than like 6 or 7 of our smaller size states combined that's entered the country in the last 3 years. That's a major change in elections and everything else you can imagine.
Yep.
Yeah.
And imagine count them on the census, and they actually like up the representatives in certain areas they're going to. Like, what if New York gets more members of Congress, and they're all Democrats, and I mean, who knows like what the future is going to bring with that. So yeah, this is crazy, and I think it's going to be a pretty like maybe a even bigger repeat of the last election, the last presidential election. I think what's going on right now. I've seen the stuff, like I've been in the riots, I've been in the civil disobedience. One thing I can say, like if anybody's going to do anything like civil disobedience wise, protect your identity. Like that's number one. Your face, cover your face. Make sure you don't have a lot of identifying anything that can easily identify you on. That's if you're going to do civil disobedience. That's the biggest thing you can take away from like the Antifa stuff. Oh, they're always masked up. This ones are doing stuff. That's what I learned in Hong Kong. And when I was in the Hong Kong protests, there were the umbrellas. They used the umbrellas for a specific reason, and that came from a different protest era. And which I think I forget what it was called. It was the umbrella protest or something. But they use the umbrellas to cover themselves up from cameras and from anybody trying to see what they're doing. And I saw them like burning like communist flags. I saw them busting up businesses that were tied to the CCP. So, I mean, that's a big thing if you're going to do anything on that level. That I would say to people, cover your identity so you can stay free. If you believe that's what route you need to take, definitely protect yourself. And I'm not advocating anything. I'm just saying if you want to go that route, and definitely like have be in communication and talks and with your friends and whatnot, and figure out what level you want to go to. And then also then the legal, not that civil disobedience is illegal, but if you want to do like get involved with politics, etc., that's awesome, because we need like everything at the same time to
I agree. We need everything to change in a very short period of time in order to save the Constitutional Republic. All right, so before I let you go, before I let everyone go, I want to talk about this picture that you took and get your take on it. All right, so when did you take this picture, and what is in this picture? What the hell are we looking at?
That was, let me real quick jump up. That was, what day did I say? That was October 17th. So it was like about a week and a half after I first got rolled into Lukeville. And that's the port of entry. That's half of it. That's the, you're looking at the going into Mexico. That's that canopy thing on the left-hand side with all the lights, etc. And where they bring in the illegal aliens through that. And then there's another canopy on behind, like, kind of not in front of that one, but behind it. So up in the sky, I just noticed up in the sky, there were lights. And I only saw it when I went over my photos just a few days ago. And I was like, what is that? I know if I thought there was UFOs in the sky, that I would have freaked out and been, oh my God, and I would have been posting all over social media. I just got UFOs, like in a picture, or I just saw them.
I mean, dude, that looks like you caught like 5 or 6 UFOs hovering over the border.
It looks like, and I was like thinking, you know what if they're controlling I was like just coming up with like sci-fi stuff. Like, what if they're controlling the organization, the human smuggling organizations over there? And we got a glimpse into what's going on. They're invading, literally illegal aliens are invading with illegal aliens.
Aliens and illegal aliens from other planets and countries are coming together.
I did a quote on that. I was like, hey, if those were literally aliens, that would give a whole new I forget what I said.
Meaning.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is, but I said if those were UFOs over the Lukeville port of entry, it would give a whole new meaning to the term illegal aliens. And
seriously,
that was fun. But hey, you know what? A lot of people explain it could have been your phone. There's one filmmaker actually who chimed in who said it was the phone actually, because of the low light, it did something and it mirrored the lights on the left-hand side of the port, put them up in the sky. There was some really great comments out there that people said there's something, a logical explanation, but at the same time, whatever, who knows? The truth is out there.
Truth is out there. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's bring this down in the back. Pam, how you doing tonight? Amber, I saw some people come in at the very end. 1796 Patriot. Everybody says thank you a lot, Ben. Ben, my God, Jeff. Sorry, I saw Ben in the chat. Jeff, thank you very much for all the work you're doing. And I appreciate it too as well. I think really important, and we'll keep in touch over the next 10 months. I'm going to be going back to the States to do some work about election integrity in the Northeast. Maybe thinking about taking a trip now that I found out that info that you told me about SoCal and Chinese migrants coming over San Ysidro. Might have to try and touch base, maybe even meet up with you there, and we could do some stuff together there. But yeah, thank you so much for your time. I know my chat and my members really appreciate it. Just go ahead and plug your YouTube channel and your Twitter one last time for anyone who came in late. Your YouTube channel again, I'm just going to go ahead and say it. It's, well, your Twitter handle is Liberty_Clarion, right?
Yeah.
At Liberty_Clarion.
Correct.
Okay. And the YouTube channel I wrote down, God, I have scribble here. It's Rainforest Robert YouTube, right?
Rainforest Report. You can actually, if I'm showing on your screen, it's like literally Rainforest Report. I'm on Substack and YouTube. That's my that's the handle.
Okay.
Rainforest Report.
What's your handle?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So,
good stuff.
Absolutely.
Pam says, come to Cali. I will have to do that. Backyard Boogie, how you doing tonight? And I saw Lizzie. Yeah, I'll drop a link in the chat for you guys for we gotta get Jeff to 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. He's like really close right now. All right, Rainforest.
I went over, like I'm at like 1,020, like I think it was a day ago.
Oh, you just got it.
All the ones that I can get, because I had to start that just for Substack, because Rumble doesn't work on Substack. Which
got
is
it.
Crazy, but
okay, I just dropped that in the chat right now. I saw Lizzie in the chat and Amber saying good stuff, Barry Electronics. Yeah, Jeff, thank you so much for coming on, and thank you to everyone who joined us tonight and came on to talk about this situation. I think it's important that we stay informed on what the hell is going on out there, because this is our country and we're losing it day by day very quickly. Jeff, again, thank you so much. Anything else you want to say before you go?
Subscribe, share, like. I'll see you on my pages.
There you go.
Substack, go to
there
that.
You go.
All my stuff comes out, all my professional photos, all videos, everything comes out in article format. That's my big platform right there. Awesome, guys. Thank you so much, Mass.
Yeah, no problem. And you are welcome back anytime. I hope that very soon we'll get we'll do like you, Hernando, and maybe Ben, and I can get one of my other buddies to come on and collab. Maybe we can get someone from the audience to come out and do that, and maybe do a collab with us. But we'll be in touch anyways. Do me a favor. I'm going to play my outro right now. Will you just stay on real quick so I can touch base with you before it goes out? Okay. All right. I always do this, man. I have my intro ready to go, and then you know what happens when you leave up the other thing in the background, the sharing screen. The this doesn't come up. All right, so now we got to change it. All right, so yeah, guys, I appreciate you guys. Now, Prometheus, have a good night, man. Pam, Lizzie, Backyard Boogie, Mike, Amber, 1796 Patriot, Barry. I think I said what's up to almost everyone tonight. I saw Grandpa Barney and Super Steve were in the chat earlier. Good to see those guys. I'm a professional. Oh, I got Bucks fan earlier. Dufresne. Yeah, good chat tonight. Beverly. I saw Beverly. That's right. All right, guys. Have a great night. I will be back in a couple days for another live stream. Keep your eyes open. It's going to be about the market. Thank all you guys so much for coming by. Love y'all. Thanks for the support. Have a great night.